The Galactic Martial Arts Tournament burst with excitement as competitors from across the cosmos gathered on the neutral planet of Nexus Prime. Among the sea of alien faces, one stood out, a human girl named Kira, her dark hair tied back in a simple ponytail, her emerald eyes scanning the ornate arena with quiet determination. Whispers and sneers followed her as she made her way to the registration area. Humans were still newcomers to the galactic stage, barely a century into their interstellar journey. Most alien species viewed them as primitive upstarts, hardly worthy of competing in such a prestigious event. As Kira approached the registration desk, a towering figure blocked her path. Grand Master Thrax, the reigning champion from the warrior planet Zarkoth, looked down at her with disdain. His scaled skin shimmered with an iridescent sheen, and his forearms were adorned with the markings of countless victories. "You seem lost, little one," Thrax rumbled, his voice dripping with condescension. "The spectator area is that way." He gestured with one of his lower arms, not bothering to hide his amusement. Kira met his gaze unflinchingly. "I'm here to compete, Grand Master Thrax." A ripple of laughter spread through the nearby aliens. Thrax's eyes narrowed, his amusement turning to irritation. "Compete? You? A human?" He spat the word as if it left a bad taste in his mouth. "Your species can barely grasp the basics of interstellar travel. What makes you think you can stand among the galaxy's elite warriors?" "I own my place here, just like everyone else," Kira replied calmly, producing her invitation. "Unless you're afraid to face me in the ring." Thrax's face contorted with rage. How dare this insignificant creature challenge him? He snatched the invitation, scrutinizing it for any sign of forgery. To his shock, it was genuine. "This is an outrage," he bellowed, turning to the tournament officials. "Surely you jest, allowing this child to sully our sacred traditions." The head official, a being of pure energy contained within a hovering orb, pulsed with a calming blue light. "The invitation is valid, Grand Master Thrax. All who qualify are welcome, regardless of species or age. Those are the rules we've followed for millennia." Thrax's fists clenched, but he knew better than to argue further. He turned back to Kira, looming over her menacingly. "Very well, human, you'll have your chance. But know this, I will personally ensure that your defeat is so humiliating, so absolute, that no human will dare show their face in this tournament again for 1,000 years." Kira simply nodded, her expression revealing nothing. As Thrax stormed away, she completed her registration and made her way to the preparation area. The other competitors gave her a wide berth, some muttering insults, others simply confused by her presence. As she began her warm-up routine, Kira reflected on the journey that had brought her here. Years of relentless training, studying every martial art form Earth had to offer, then seeking out alien masters willing to teach her their techniques. She had faced prejudice and dismissal at every turn, but each obstacle only fueled her determination. The tournament's opening ceremony was a dazzling display of light and sound, showcasing the diversity of the competing species. When Kira's name was announced, the alien crowd's reaction ranged from jeers to bewildered silence. She stood tall, ignoring the hostility around her. As the preliminary rounds began, Kira found herself facing opponents who underestimated her. She used their arrogance against them, her unique fighting style catching them off guard. With each victory, the whispers in the arena changed from dismissal to curiosity. Thrax watched from the sidelines, his anger growing with each of Kira's wins. This human was making a mockery of everything he stood for. As the first day of the tournament drew to a close, he vowed to uncover the truth behind her abilities. There had to be some trick, some deception at play, and when he exposed it, he would crush this human upstart and restore the natural order of the galaxy. Little did either Kira or Thrax realize that forces beyond their understanding were at work, and this tournament would be the catalyst for events that would reshape the very fabric of galactic society. As the tournament progressed, Kira continued to defy expectations. Her fights became the talk of the arena, drawing increasingly larger crowds. Aliens of all species crowded around viewscreens, fascinated by the human's unconventional style. Kira's technique was a fluid fusion of Earth's martial arts and alien combat forms. She moved with a grace that belied her human limitations, her body seeming to bend in ways that should have been impossible. Many speculated about cybernetic enhancements or illegal genetic modifications, unable to believe that a pure human could possess such abilities. In the quarterfinals, Kira faced Zaxxler, a fearsome warrior from the gas giants of the Andromeda Galaxy. Zaxxler's gelatinous form allowed him to absorb and redirect energy attacks, making him nearly invincible in standard combat. As the match began, Zaxxler launched a barrage of plasma bolts at Kira. The crowd gasped, certain that the human would be vaporized. But Kira moved like water, each bolt missing her by mere millimeters. She closed the distance, her hands moving in intricate patterns. Suddenly, Zaxxler found his form solidifying, unable to maintain his fluid state. Kira had used a technique that manipulated the electromagnetic field around her opponent, a skill she had learned from a reclusive energy being in the Crab Nebula. With Zaxxler vulnerable, Kira struck with precision, targeting pressure points that even Zaxxler didn't know he possessed. The alien collapsed, incapacitated but unharmed. The arena fell silent, then erupted in a mix of cheers and confused exclamations. Frax watched from the shadows, his four fists clenched in fury. This human was more than just lucky. She possessed knowledge and skills that should have been impossible for her kind to attain. His suspicions deepened, convinced that there was more to Kira's presence than met the eye. As Kira left the arena, she was confronted by a group of alien journalists, their appendages waving recording devices in her face. "How did you learn to fight like that?" One blob-like being burbled. "Are you really fully human?" A floating, crystalline entity chimed. Kira raised her hands, calling for calm. "I am human, yes. As for my skills, I spent years traveling the galaxy, learning from any master willing to teach me. There's no secret, just hard work and an open mind." Her words, translated across 100 different languages, sparked intense debate throughout the arena. Some were inspired by her dedication, while others remained skeptical, unable to accept that a human could achieve such mastery. In the preparation area, other competitors began to approach Kira. Some offered grudging respect, while others sought to learn more about her techniques. A few even apologized for their earlier dismissal, impressed by her humility and skill. But as Kira's popularity grew, so did the danger surrounding her. In the shadows of the arena, secretive figures exchanged worried glances. The human's success was threatening carefully laid plans that had been in motion for centuries. Frax, driven by his wounded pride and growing paranoia, began to dig deeper into Kira's background. He called in favors from contacts across the galaxy, determined to uncover the truth behind this human anomaly. As the semi-finals approached, the atmosphere in the arena grew tense. Kira's next match would pit her against Vex'ahlia, a legendary assassin from the Outer Rim, known for her lethal precision and unbreakable focus. In her private chamber, Kira meditated, centering herself for the challenges ahead. She knew that each fight would only get harder, pushing her to her absolute limits. But she also knew that she carried with her the hopes and dreams of humanity, a chance to prove that her species deserved a place among the stars. Little did Kira know that her next match would be more than just a test of skill. It would be the key that unlocked a conspiracy spanning galaxies, forcing her to confront truths that would shake the foundations of the universe itself. As the call for the semi-finals echoed through the arena, Kira opened her eyes, a quiet determination burning within them. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she was ready to face them, not just for herself, but for all of humanity. The semi-final match between Kira and Vex'ahlia was a spectacle that would be remembered for generations. Vex'ahlia, with her 6 arms and ability to perceive micro-expressions across species, was considered unbeatable in close combat. Yet Kira held her own, matching the assassin move for move. As the fight reached its climax, Kira executed a technique that left the audience breathless. She seemed to phase out of reality for a split second, reappearing behind Vex'ahlia and striking a decisive blow. The assassin fell, and Kira advanced to the finals. But it was that moment of seeming impossibility that caught Thrax's attention. He had seen something similar before, in ancient texts speaking of a long-lost martial art called the Void Dance. Those texts were supposed to have been destroyed millennia ago, their knowledge too dangerous to exist. Driven by suspicion, Thrax broke into the tournament's secure archives that night. He hacked into Kira's personal records, tracing her journey across the galaxy. What he found chilled him to his core. Kira's travels hadn't been random. She had visited specific planets in a precise order, each one home to a guardian of ancient knowledge. It was a path that could only be known to someone with access to information that had been hidden for eons. As Thrax dug deeper, he uncovered references to a prophecy, one that spoke of a being from a young species who would unite the forgotten arts and bring about a great change in the galaxy. The implications were staggering. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the facility. Thrax wasn't the only one who had broken in that night. Shadowy figures swarmed the archives, their intentions clearly sinister. Thrax found himself fighting for his life, his martial arts skills pushed to their limits. In the chaos, he spotted Kira, who had also been drawn to the archives by the commotion. Their eyes met, mutual suspicion giving way to a reluctant understanding. They found themselves fighting back-to-back against the unknown assailants. As they fought, Thrax shouted over the din, "The Void Dance. How do you know it?" Kira's eyes widened in surprise, but she didn't miss a beat in her combat. "I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me, human. I saw you use it. That technique has been lost for thousands of years." Their conversation was cut short as a new wave of attackers descended upon them. These weren't mere thieves or rival competitors. Their movements spoke of military precision, their weapons far beyond standard issue. As Kira and Thrax fought their way out of the archives, they realized the tournament had been thrown into chaos. Explosions rocked the arena, and panicked competitors and spectators fled in all directions. In a moment of clarity, Thrax grabbed Kira's arm. "We need to get out of here. There's more at stake than just this tournament." Kira hesitated, her ingrained distrust of the alien warrior warring with the urgency of the situation. Finally, she nodded. "Lead the way." They escaped the arena, stealing a small spacecraft from the docking bay. As they shot into space, they watched in horror as the entire tournament planet was engulfed in a massive energy field, cutting it off from the rest of the galaxy. In the tense silence of the ship's cockpit, Kira turned to Thrax. "All right, start talking. What's really going on here?" Thrax's multiple eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep contemplation among his species. "I believe, human, that you are at the center of a prophecy that could reshape the balance of power in our galaxy, and there are forces out there who will stop at nothing to prevent that from happening." Kira's mind reeled. She had come to the tournament to prove humanity's worth, not to get entangled in some galactic conspiracy. But as she reflected on her journey, on the strange coincidences and the knowledge she had gained, a creeping suspicion told her that Thrax might be right. As their ship hurtled through space, pursued by unknown enemies, Kira realized that her greatest challenge was just beginning. The tournament had been just the opening move in a game played across the stars, and she was a key piece on the board. With Thrax as an unlikely ally, Kira steeled herself for what was to come. Whatever forces were aligning against them, she would face them head-on. For in this moment, she carried with her not just the hopes of humanity, but potentially the fate of the entire galaxy. As their stolen spacecraft hurtled through the cosmos, Kira and Thrax found themselves in the uncomfortable position of having to trust each other. The ship's communications crackled with reports of the tournament's destruction, along with wild speculation about the cause. "We need a plan," Kira said, breaking the tense silence. "And I need you to tell me everything you know." Frax's scaled skin shimmed as he shifted uneasily in the co-pilot's seat. The prophecy speaks of a convergence, a being who would unite the scattered knowledge of the ancient martial arts. This being would have the power to upset the balance of the galaxy. "And you think that's me?" Kira asked, incredulity evident in her voice. "The evidence is compelling," Frax rumbled. "Your journey across the galaxy, the masters you sought out, it all aligns with the prophecy." Kira shook her head. "But I was just trying to learn, to prove that humans could stand amongst the stars. I don't want to upset any balance or fulfill any prophecy." "Intent matters little in the face of destiny," Frax replied sagely, surprising Kira with his sudden philosophical turn. Their conversation was interrupted by a proximity alert. 3 sleek, black ships had appeared seemingly out of nowhere, their designs unlike anything either of them had seen before. Evasive maneuvers. Frax barked, his forearms flying over the ship's controls. Kira gritted her teeth, pushing the stolen craft to its limits. Her human pilot training, combined with techniques she'd learned from a tentacled void sailor in the Horsehead Nebula, allowed her to pull off maneuvers that defied the laws of physics. Even Thrax looked impressed. "Perhaps there is something to this prophecy after all," he muttered. Despite their best efforts, one of the pursuing ships managed to lock on with a tractor beam. As their ship shuddered, preparing for boarding, Kira and Thrax stood back to back, ready to face whatever came through the airlock. The door hissed open, revealing a group of beings shrouded in shadows. Their leader stepped forward, a tall, elegant creature with translucent skin that seemed to ripple with starlight. "I am Xylath of the Cosmic Conclave," the being announced, its voice resonating in their minds rather than their ears. "We've been expecting you, Convergence." Kira and Thrax exchanged glances. This was not the violent confrontation they had anticipated. Over the next few hours, Xylath explained the true nature of the situation. The Cosmic Conclave was an ancient order dedicated to maintaining balance in the galaxy. They had been watching Kira's progress, recognizing her as the prophesied Convergence. "But why attack the tournament?" Kira demanded. "We didn't," Xylath replied. "That was the work of the Void Collective, a group that seeks to use the ancient arts for domination. They fear what your existence represents." Thrax's multiple eyes narrowed. "And what exactly does her existence represent?" Xylath's form shimmered. "The potential for unity. The prophecy speaks of the Convergence bringing together not just the ancient arts, but the diverse species of the galaxy. It is a future of cooperation, not conquest." Kira's mind reeled. The implications were staggering. "So what happens now?" "Now," Xylath said, "we prepare. The Void Collective will not stop until they've eliminated you and crushed this potential future. We must gather allies, unlock the full extent of your abilities, and confront them." Thrax, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, finally spoke. "I may have misjudged you, human, and perhaps my own role in these events." He turned to Kira, bowing slightly. "I'll offer my skills and knowledge to your cause." Kira looked at Thrax, then at Xylath and the members of the Cosmic Conclave. She thought of Earth, of humanity's dream to find its place among the stars. She thought of all the beings she had met on her journey, the knowledge she had gained, the bridges she had built. With a deep breath, she nodded. "All right, let's save the galaxy." As their ship set course for the hidden base of the Cosmic Conclave, Kira felt the weight of destiny settling on her shoulders. The tournament had been just the beginning. Now, the real challenge lay ahead, uniting the galaxy against a threat that sought to keep it divided. With an unlikely alien alliance at her side, Kira steeled herself for the battles to come. The fate of not just humanity, but all sentient beings, hung in the balance. And she was determined not to let them down. The next few weeks were a blur of intense training and preparation. The hidden base of the Cosmic Conclave, located in the heart of a dying star, buzzed with activity as beings from across the galaxy gathered to support the prophecy. Kira threw herself into mastering the final techniques of the ancient arts. Under the guidance of Xylath and other Conclave masters, she began to unlock abilities that bordered on the miraculous. She could now manipulate energy fields, move through solid matter, and even influence the fabric of space-time itself. Thrax, true to his word, became an invaluable ally. His strategic mind and vast knowledge of galactic politics helped the Conclave anticipate the Void Collective's moves. More surprisingly, he became a friend to Kira, their initial animosity transforming into mutual respect and understanding. As Kira's training neared its peak, the Void Collective made their move. Reports flooded in of simultaneous attacks on key worlds across the galaxy. The Collective's forces, armed with corrupted versions of the ancient arts, spread chaos and destruction. "It's time," Xylath announced, its starlight form pulsing with urgency. "The Convergence must face the leaders of the Void Collective." A plan was quickly formed. While the allies gathered by the Conclave defended key planets, Kira, Thrax, and a small team of elite warriors would infiltrate the Void Collective's stronghold, a massive space station hidden in the turbulent gases of a proto-galaxy. As their stealth ship approached the station, Kira felt a mix of fear and determination. "Remember," she said to her team, "we're not just fighting for ourselves or our own species. We're fighting for a future where all beings can coexist and thrive." Thrax nodded, his usually stern face softening. "You've taught me that, Kira. Perhaps this old warrior can learn new tricks after all." Their insertion was met with immediate resistance. The Void Collective had amassed an army of enhanced warriors, each wielding dark versions of the ancient arts. The battle that ensued was like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Kira moved through the chaos like a force of nature. She phased through walls, redirected energy blasts, and struck with precision that left even her allies in awe. Thrax fought at her side, his forearms a blur of motion, covering her back and clearing a path forward. As they fought their way to the heart of the station, they encountered the leaders of the Void Collective, a trio of beings so corrupted by their pursuit of power that they barely resembled their original forms. "You cannot stop us, Convergence," the central figure hissed, its voice a discordant screech. "The galaxy will be remade in our image." What followed was a battle that would be spoken of in whispers for millennia to come. Kira and her team faced off against the Void leaders, the very fabric of reality warping around them as they clashed. Kira found herself pushed to the absolute limit of her abilities. For every technique she used, the Void leaders seemed to have a counter. The station shuddered and groaned under the force of their combat. In a crucial moment, Kira remembered something her first martial arts teacher on Earth had told her. True strength comes not from dominating others, but from lifting them up. With sudden clarity, she understood the true nature of the Convergence. Instead of fighting against the Void leaders, Kira began to redirect their energy, using her skills not to destroy but to heal. Her actions caught the corrupted beings off guard, creating openings for her team to strike. As the battle reached its climax, Kira channeled the combined energy of her allies, the station, and even the surrounding proto-galaxy. In a blinding flash of light, she released a wave of pure, harmonizing energy. The Void leaders screamed as the corruption was burned away from them. The station shuddered one final time, then began to break apart. "We need to leave now," Thrax shouted, grabbing Kira's arm. As they raced back to their ship, Kira used her newfound powers to ensure that all beings on the station, even former enemies, were teleported to safety. The team escaped just as the station collapsed, imploding into a miniature black hole that quickly dissipated. In the aftermath, as their ship limped back to friendly space, Kira looked out at the stars. The galaxy had been saved, but she knew that this was just the beginning of a new journey, one that would require not just strength, but wisdom, compassion, and unity. In the months following the defeat of the Void Collective, the galaxy underwent a transformation unlike any in recorded history. The revelation of the ancient arts and the role of the Convergence sparked a renaissance of cultural and scientific exchange between species. Kira found herself at the center of it all, not as a warrior, but as a bridge builder. She traveled from world to world, sharing her knowledge and encouraging cooperation. The cosmic conclave, no longer needing to operate in secrecy, became a force for positive change throughout the galaxy. Thrax, much to everyone's surprise, including his own, became Kira's staunchest advocate. He used his influence among the more militant species to ease tensions and foster understanding. His journey from arrogant warrior to diplomat became an inspiration for many. On a newly established neutral world named Unity, representatives from thousands of species gathered for the first galactic concordance. Kira stood before the assembled delegates, her presence a living symbol of the change sweeping the cosmos. "We stand at a crossroads," she began, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. "For too long, our differences have divided us. We've seen those divisions exploited by those who seek power for themselves, but we've also seen what we can accomplish when we come together." She gestured to the diverse crowd before her. "Look around you. Every being here represents a unique perspective, a unique way of experiencing the universe. Imagine what we can learn from each other, what we can achieve together." As Kira spoke, she demonstrated some of the techniques she had mastered, not as a show of power, but as an example of the potential within all beings. The chamber was filled with gasps of wonder as she manipulated energy fields and bent light itself. "These abilities are not meant to divide us into the powerful and the weak," she continued. "They are tools to help us understand the fundamental nature of our universe. And that understanding is something we can all share in, regardless of our species or origin." The speech was met with thunderous applause. In that moment, it seemed as though the entire galaxy had been united in purpose. However, Kira and her allies knew that the path forward would not be without challenges. There were still those who resisted change, who clung to old prejudices and fears. The remnants of the Void Collective, though weakened, had not been entirely eliminated. In the years that followed, Kira worked tirelessly to implement the vision of unity she had shared. She established academies where beings from all species could learn the ancient arts, always with an emphasis on responsibility and harmony. Thrax became the headmaster of one such academy, his journey from adversary to ally serving as a powerful example of change. The Galactic Martial Arts Tournament was revived, but with a new purpose. Instead of a competition to prove superiority, it became a celebration of diverse styles and a platform for cultural exchange. Kira herself rarely competed, preferring to serve as a judge and mentor to young martial artists from across the cosmos. As decades passed, Kira watched with pride as a new generation grew up in this more united galaxy. Species that had once been bitter enemies now worked together on massive projects, pushing the boundaries of science and exploration. The ancient arts, once hidden and feared, became a respected field of study, yielding insights that revolutionized technology and medicine. On the 20th anniversary of the Galactic Concordance, Kira stood once again before the assembled representatives. Her hair was now streaked with grey, but her eyes still shone with the same determination and hope. 20 years ago, we took our first steps towards a united galaxy, she said. We've come so far, but our journey is far from over. There will always be new challenges, new frontiers to explore, but I have faith that together, there is nothing we cannot overcome. As she looked out at the faces before her, humans, aliens, and beings that defied easy classification, Kira felt a sense of fulfillment. The prophecy had been fulfilled, but not in the way anyone had expected. The true power of the convergence wasn't in martial arts or mystical abilities, but in the simple yet profound act of bringing people together. The young human girl who had once been despised and underestimated had become a catalyst for change on a galactic scale. And as Kira smiled at the bright future ahead, she knew that this was only the beginning of humanity's grand adventure among the stars.